Susie at the Applegate Library. I'm so glad that I get to read you 2 stories today. I've missed reading stories. First little book I have is called Don't Push the Button, and it's written by Bill Cotter. He also illustrated it. Don't push that button. He wrote this for his mom and dad, for always encouraging me, even when I was pushing their buttons. Hi, my name is Larry. Welcome to my book. There's only one rule. Don't push the button. Seriously, don't even think about that. It does look pretty nice, though. I wonder what would happen if we pushed it. No, we can't. We mustn't. Psst, no one's looking. You should give the button one little push. Beep. Ah, now I'm yellow. Push it again. Beep. Eek! Now I'm yellow and polka dot. Push it twice. Beep, beep. Ack! Now there's 2 of me. Push it a whole bunch of times. Beep, 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 beep. Uh-oh. Shake the book to get rid of all the extra Larrys. Almost. Shake a little more. Okay, there we go. He's got a book that says, so you push the button. It gives him the directions. It says here to scratch Larry's tummy to get him back to normal. Scratch, 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 scratch. That tickles. Okay, much better. Let's not push the button again. But that was kind of fun. Maybe just a couple more pushes. Beep, beep. The end. Yeah, it's a cute little story. And the other story is a Dr. Seuss books. He writes with lots of nonsense words, but they're fun to read and they're fun to hear. And he makes his story rhyme. It's called Did I Ever Tell You How Lucky You Are? By Dr. Seuss. He just had a birthday the other day. When I was quite young and quite small for my size, I met an old man in the desert of Dries, and he sang me a song I will never forget. At least, well, I haven't forgotten it yet. He sat in a terribly prickly place, but he sang with a sunny, sweet smile on his face. When you think things are bad, when you feel sour and blue, when you start to get mad, you should do what I do. Just tell yourself, ducky, you're really quite lucky. Some people are much more, oh, ever so much more, oh, muchly, much, much more unlucky than you. Be glad you don't work on the Bungle-Bung Bridge that they're building across Boober Bay at Bum Ridge. It's a troublesome world. All the people who are in it are troubled with troubles almost every minute. You ought to be thankful a whole heaping lot for the places and people you're lucky you're not. Just suppose, for example, you lived in Gazette and got caught in the traffic on Zate Highway 8. Or suppose, just for instance, you lived in Gazaire with your bedroom up here and your bathroom up there. Suppose, just suppose you were poor Herbie Hart, who has taken his thrombambulator apart. He will never get it together, I'm sure. He never will know if the gick or the gore fits into the scrux or the snux or the snore. Yes, ducky, you're lucky you're not Herbie Hart, who has taken his thrombambulator apart. Think they work you too hard? Think of poor Allie Sard. He has to mow grass in his uncle's backyard, and it's quick-growing grass, and it grows as he mows it. The faster he mows it, the faster he grows it. And all that his stingy old uncle will pay for his shoving that mower around in the hay is the piffless pay of 2 duclaws a day. And Allie can't live on 2 piffless pay. So he has to paint flagpoles on Sundays in grooves. How lucky you are you don't live in his shoes. And poor Mr. Bix, every morning at 6, poor Mr. Bix has his borfin to fix. It doesn't seem fair, it just doesn't seem right, but his borfin just seems to go schlump every night. It schlumps in a heat, sadly needing repair. Bix figures it's due to the local night air. It takes him all day to unschlump it, and then the night air comes back and it schlumps once again. So don't you feel blue. Don't get down in the dumps. You're lucky you don't have a borfin that schlumps. And while we are at it, consider the schlots, the crumplehorn, web-footed, green-bearded schlots, whose tail is entangled with unsolvable knots. If he isn't muchly more worse off than you, I'll eat my umbrella. That's just what I'll do. And you're lucky indeed you don't ride on a camel. To ride on a camel, you sit on a whammel. A whammel, you know, is a sort of a saddle held on by a button that's known as a faddle. And boy, if your old whammel faddle gets loose, I'm telling you, ducky, you're gone like a goose. And poor Mr. Potter, T-crosser eye-daughter, he has to cross I's and he has to cross T's and he has to dot I's in an I and T factory out in Van Nuys. Oh, the jobs people work at out west near Hutch Hutch. There's a Hutch Hutcher bee watcher. His job is to watch. It's to keep both his eyes on the lazy town bee. A bee that's watched will work harder, you see. Well, he watched and he watched, but in spite of his watch, the bee didn't work any harder, not much. So then somebody said, our old bee-watching man just isn't bee-watching as hard as he can. He ought to be watched by another Hutch Hutcher. The thing we need is a bee-watcher watcher. Well, the bee-watcher watcher watched the bee-watcher. He didn't watch well, so another Hutch Hutcher had to come in as a watcher watcher. And today all the Hutches who live in Hutch Hutch are watching on watching watching the watcher who's watching that bee. You're not a Hutch watcher. You're lucky, you see. And how fortunate you're not Professor DeBreeze, who has spent the past 32 years, if you please, trying to teach Irish ducks how to read Jivanese. And think of the poor puffing Pogglehorn players who have to parade down the Pogglehorn stairs every morning to wake up the Prince of Pooboken. It's awful how often their poggles get broken. And oh, just suppose you were poor Henry Haddo. Try as he will, he can't make any shadow. He thinks that perhaps something's wrong with his giz. And I think, by golly, there probably is. And the poor brothers Bazoo, suppose your hair grew like theirs happened to do. You think you're unlucky, I'm telling you, ducky. Some people are muchly, oh, ever so muchly more unlucky than you. And suppose that you lived in the forest of France, where the average young person just hasn't a chance to escape from the perilous pants-eating plants. But your pants are safe. You're a fortunate guy, and you ought to be shouting, "How lucky am I!" And speaking of plants, you should be greatly gladdish you're not Farmer Falconbird's 17th radish. And you're so lucky you're not Gucky Gown, who lives by himself 90 miles out of town in the ruins of Ronk. Ronk is rather run down. And you're so lucky you're not a left sock left behind by mistake in the caverns of Croc. Thank goodness for all of the things you are not. Thank goodness you're not something someone forgot and left all alone in some puckerish place like a rusty tin coat hanger hanging in space. That's why I say, Ducky, don't grumble, don't stew. Some critters are much, oh, ever so much, so muchly much more unlucky than you. Thank you for reading stories with me today. I was so glad I got to see you. Bye-bye.